Hello, everyone. Good day to all. I hope you are all doing well, safe, and healthy. I am criminologist Mary Joyce Bigon-Mullen, your instructor for today, and welcome to our class meeting. In this subject, I will be continuing the discussion of the introduction of the Philippine criminal justice system, particularly the first pillar of the criminal justice system, which is the law enforcement pillar. But before we begin our topic discussion, let's have first a quick recap on what we had discussed on our previews. As you can see in the screen, these are the following topics that we had during the live presentation, and it was already been uploaded. If you haven't watched the first episode of these these subject, I would suggest that you should watch it first before you proceed to this topic, so that you will be able to understand more how the criminal justice system works and started. So, last meeting we have discussed the following: the discussion on the history of the Philippine criminal justice system, define what is criminal and crime, including its classification, the instances of judgment of conviction becomes final, and outline the word criminal justice system, Philippine criminal justice system, as well as the due process, compare and contrast the difference between criminology and criminal justice, including the distinction between the adult criminal justice and juvenile justice, identify the models in the administration of justice, the nature and scope of criminal justice system, the overview of the criminal justice system in the American and Philippine settings. Okay, so let's proceed. So we will have two parts of the discussion in the law enforcement pillar, and there will be two episodes which will help you understand the law enforcement pillar of the Philippine criminal justice system. So the contents of my presentation. So as you can see in your screen, these will be the contents of my presentation for this episode. And I will probably upload another part of the discussion in law enforcement days from now. So I hope and I would like to encourage you all to do not forget to click subscribe to my channel. If you have questions, just write it down in the comment section and hit the notification bell so you will be updated for the next discussions. Okay, so the contents of these video or these discussion are the following. We have the definition of law enforcement agencies or police, the evolution of policing in the Philippine setting, the Philippine National Police, its powers and functions in connection with the criminal justice system, the concept of police service, the police community relations, and other terms related to the COPS, the theories of police service, the police discretion, the criminal investigation, custodial investigation, overview of NBI, and other law enforcement agencies. So let's start. So same with the American system, our justice system starts from the moment the police or law enforcer apprehend a person suspected for the commission of crime. As you can see in the screen, the definition of law enforcement agencies or police are the one who will conduct arrests, search, seizure, and etc. So this pillar is known as the prime mover or the frontliner of the criminal justice system. Take note that police or law enforcers are also considered the most visible representative of the government in the society. So the first line of defense against crime, or only if the police arrest suspect, will rest of the criminal justice system come into play in prosecuting, in trying, in convicting, and rehabilitating the offenders. For this reason, the police or the law enforcer is considered as the initiator or again the prime mover of the system. And it is worth also to understand that without the alleged commission of crime and subsequent apprehension of person who is a suspect for committing the crime, the criminal justice system cannot be considered validly commenced. Okay? So therefore, the arrest of the suspect may be with a warrant or arrest duly issued by judge or warrantless arrest, which will be on the next lesson, or these will be tackled in the next lesson to come. Now again, take note that it is not accurate to consider that law enforcement agency is exactly the same with police, or it is only applicable for the Philippine National Police. This is because there are other agencies of the government which are charged with enforcing laws aside from the Philippine National Police. As for instance, no, like the Bureau of Internal Revenue or the BIR. The BIR enforces what? Tax laws. So, the BIR may also be considered as a law enforcement agency. The same with the other agencies, which you will know later on, because this will also be discussed. Okay? So, as I was saying a while ago, in the Philippine setting, the first pillar consists of the police. And the primary police agency that symbolizes the law enforcement pillar is the Philippine National Police. Okay. Now, to be able to understand how the PNP evolved as the leading law enforcement agency, the evolution of the police service in our country might be able to help you. Now, for that, I will have first a summary discussion on the evolution of the policing in the Philippine setting. Maybe some of you had already known this topic, but for the sake of you, my students who have not enrolled to Layer 1, Police Organization and Administration subject, this discussion will be more beneficial to you, as this will be an advanced learning for you. Okay, so let us first define the word police. Police derive from the word politia. Politia, which means condition of a state, government, and agency. Politia originated from the Greek word politia, which means government, citizenship, or the entire of police in the city. Now, the evolution of the policing in the Philippine setting started during the pre-Spanish regime. Now, during the pre-Spanish regime, there was what we called headman or tribe leaders who mandates all male residents in the village to protect their crops from wild animals. And these male residents before were already considered police as they safeguard the lives and properties of their community. So there was already police during the pre-Spanish regime. Next was after the pre-Spanish was the Spanish regime. I know you are quite familiar with this one. Now, police force during the Spanish regime was considered part of the military system of the Spanish government. Their functions are the following: suppress brigandage by patrolling unsettled areas, detection of spies as well as local petty uprising, and the enforcement of tax collection and church revenue. Under the Spanish regime, there were police forces that being created. The first police force was Carabineros de Seguridad Público, or in English, this is Mounted Police. And it was established on the year 1712, wherein it is responsible for carrying It is responsible in carrying out the policies of the Spanish government. Right after the Carabineros de Seguridad Público was the Guardieleros. The Guardieleros refers to the body of rural police organized in every town, and it was created by virtue of a royal decree on January 8, 1836. It was composed of 5% able bodied male inhabitants of each town or province, which has a tenure of service for about 3 years. The functions of these guardieleros were the following: they guard the municipal tribunals, they, they do patrolling, they guard the prisons, they also guard the mountains or buildings, and carry mail, and also maintain peace and order. Next was the Cuerpo de Carabineros de Seguridad Público. It was established on December 20, 1842. One of the general there were two duties of these members of the Cuerpo de Carabineros de Seguridad Público: the general duties and the specific duties. In terms of general duties, their function is to prosecute the law breakers. And another is they also maintain the peace and order, or maintenance of peace and order. While the specific duties, or their specific duties, was to watch and guard the custom houses and the prevention of the entry of the contrabands. Right after that one was Guardia Civil. Guardia Civil was a police organization created by virtue of a royal decree on the year 1852, February 12, 1852 to be exact. So this Guardia Civil was it relieved the Spanish peninsular troops, and it is consisted of Filipino policemen organized originally in each provincial capitals of the central provinces of Luzon. Okay. Right after the Spanish period was the American period, in which it has also significant events or dates or important dates that help created or that help the evolution of the policing in the Philippine setting. So these are the following: July 18, 1901, when it was the creation of the Insular Constabulary by virtue of Act Number 175. July 31, 1901, the Manila Police Department was organized by virtue of Act Number 183. October 3, 1901 was the Insular Constabulary, which was changed to Philippine Constabulary by virtue of Act Number 255. And of January 2, 1942 was the first element of the Japanese Imperial Army called Kempitay, and which also entered Manila. February 7, 1945 was the return of General MacArthur to the Philippines, and also considered the Battle of Manila, which also ended the Battle of Manila. Then there are also important personalities in the evolution of the policing in the Philippine setting. The first person was William Howard Taft, which was the first civil governor of the Philippines, and right after him was Captain George Curry, who was also the first chief of police of Manila Police Department, and Captain Columbus Ipiat, the last American chief of police of Manila Police Department before the World War II broke out. Captain Henry T. Allen was also the first chief of police of the Philippine Constabulary, and Brigadier General Rafael Crame became the first Filipino chief of the police of the Philippine Constabulary, or PC. Okay. Then we have also personalities who are Filipino. We have Colonel Antonio C. Torres, which was the first chief of police of the Manila Police Department when it became an all Filipino police organization. And then Colonel Marcos Elise Jones was the first chief of police of Manila Police Department upon the liberation of Manila from the Japanese Imperial Army. And also Colonel Lamberto T. Havalera, which was the first chief of police of Manila Police Department under the Republican government of then President Rojas. Okay, so those are the important personalities in the evolution of policing in the Philippine setting. Okay, there were also related laws which help which considered to be very important. We have Republic Act 4864, we have Republic Act number 6040, or the Tolentino Law, and the Presidential Decrees number 765, and 1987 Constitution, the Republic Act 6975, and Republic Act 8551. I only mentioned the different laws since this will be tackled on the next offering, or the next subject on the first semester of school of the next school year. Also, another related law was the Republic Act 19708, or the reglementary period, the 5 years, extending the 5 years reglementary period for complying with this minimum educational qualification, uh, pertinent to the provisions of the Republic Act number 6975 and Republic Act number 8551. And also Republic Act number 157, which created the National Bureau of Investigation. Now, the Philippine National Police and the National Bureau of Investigation are considered to be the premier law enforcement agencies of the government, wherein both have their own mandates in the implementation of their respective law, their respective law enforcement functions. So, on the other hand, the Philippines established the National Law Enforcement Coordinating Committee, or the NALEC, through an Executive Order 829, dated September 11, 1982, to serve as a vehicle for cooperation and coordination and exchange of information and government law enforcement agencies. So the initiative is meant to ensure the unified direction and integration of efforts through the country in suppressing the criminal activities. Now let us focus with the Philippine National Police. What are the different police activities? As I've mentioned a while ago, um, I have already mentioned the functions of, which is also considered the definition of law enforcement or police. Now, just take note that in memorizing the different police activities, just do not forget the acronym PRASEP. Okay, P stands for prevention of crime. R stands for the repression or suppression of crime. A stands for apprehension of offenders. And S stands for conduct search and seizure. And I stands for investigation of crime. P stands for protection of lives and property. So It must also be stressed further that the enumeration only presents the simplified police activities. Now, if you would want to know more about the powers and functions of the Philippine National Police, you may refer to Section 24 of Republic Act 6975. So you will know what are the other, or what are the list of the powers and functions of a certain police officer. Okay? So the PNP, as again as I've said a while ago, it is considered as the premier law enforcement agency in our country, and it always bears the Article 16 of Section 6 of these 1987 Philippines Constitution, which provides the state shall establish and maintain one police force which shall be national in scope and civilian in character, to be administered by a national police commission. The authority of local executive or offer the police units in their jurisdiction shall be provided by the law. So as I've mentioned, these are the power and functions in connection with the criminal justice. Now, again, take note that the Republic Act 6975 was amended by Republic Act 8551, and further amended by Republic Act 9708. Okay, so these are the powers and functions in connection with the criminal justice system. We have enforced all the laws and ordinances relative to the protection of lives and properties, um, enforcement of laws and ordinances of the non-criminal conduct, protection of lives and property, and safeguarding the public health and morals. So that is also true because even when in times of pandemic, force are our police force are still working, right? So their presence is really a big help in maintaining the health protocol of the community, like social distance. They try to implement, or they try to have a checkpoint, right? So these are even at times of pandemic, or um, even um, even in times of crisis, police, or the police visibility, or the or one of the functions of a certain police officer is to be there, to safeguard and to protect the lives and also the properties of the people. Okay, and then maintain peace and order, and take all necessary steps to ensure public safety. So another is investigate and prevent crimes, effect the arrest of criminal offenders, which later on we will know how to arrest, how police officers arrest, and what are the necessary things to have, and what are the different types of arrest. Bring offenders to justice and assist in their prosecution. So again, as I've mentioned a while ago, they try to prevent crime, the repression of the criminal activities, the arrest of suspects, they also investigate the crime, they gather evidence, solve the crime, refer the case and suspect to public prosecutor once there is already a certain lead to a certain crime happen. Okay, and then uh, exercise the general powers to make arrest, search, and seizure in accordance with the Constitution and pertinent laws. And their function also is to detain an arrested person for a period not beyond what is prescribed by law, informing the persons arrested of all his rights under the Constitution. So, if you have witnessed a um, certain event wherein there is a person being arrested by a police officer, one of the function of the it is a must for a police officer to state the Miranda doctrine or the rights of the person or the rights of the accused. Okay, so and in every stage of the police performance of its rules of duties, strict compliance to constitutional and statutory rights of persons shall always be observed. So, if you would if you have heard a lot, there are instances that our police officers are being subjected to questioning the credibility on how they arrested a certain criminal. It is because some of the police officers are not compliant with observing the constitutional rights or the statutory rights of a person. So it is a must for a police officer when you become a police officer soon. This is the basic or one of the foundation of a if a good of a good police officer of a good cops to be compliant with the constitutions with to strictly comply uh, with the constitutional and statutory rights of a person. So to always observe constitutional and statutory rights of a person. Okay. Then also issues licenses for the possessions of firearms and explosives in accordance with the law, and supervise and control the training and operation of security agencies and issue licenses to operate security agencies and to security guards and private detectives for the practice of their profession and perform such other duties and exercise all other functions as may be provided by law. And if you would wanted to know more about this, you can check it out on their website www.pnp.gov.ph. So many other laws under the jurisdiction of these various departments or offices of the government wherein the PNP will be deputized under the principle of intra-coordination between among offices or departments of the governments. Okay. Now there are two concepts of police service. One is the old concept, and the other one is the modern concept. Now, the old concept focuses on the punishment as a way of eliminating crimes. Example of this is the yardstick efficiency is the number of arrests. So um, the old concept of police service is the effectiveness of a certain police office or a certain police station or a police organization is the number of arrests, uh, the 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 number of arrests they made on on a certain on a given station, you know. So that is the old concept, no. If there are many arrests, then that is it means to say that the police officers are efficient, or that the Philippine National Police is efficient in in their job because they have conducted numerous number of arrests. Okay. Then we have modern concept. The modern concept does the police efficiency in what? If it is on the on old concept by way of arrest, in modern concept, the test of police efficiency is in the absence of crime. So it is quite opposite, right? Because when we say arrest, it means to say that there is a presence of crime, but in the modern concept, the police efficiency is in the absence of crime. So that is so under the modern concept concerning police service, the policemen are considered more effective in the absence of crime, and this is because police functions at present are not limited to the act of arresting offenders or to other matters dealing with offenders. So the police function at present include public service. Okay, so that's the reason why we are between the old concept and the modern concept, we are adopting the modern concept because we are police function at present are not only limited to the act of arresting offenders but as well as having good rapport with the community or other matters dealing with the offenders. And uh, the police function at present also includes this public service in enforcing the criteria in reorganizing the Philippine National Police, considering the modern concept concerning police service. So that is why the community-oriented policing system was being established. So it was established for the law enforcement and community to have a harmonious relationship with each other. So under this system, the policeman conducts seminars, tree planting, symposiums, and other activities for them to show how much they care for the community. And in return, the community will have the active participation in assisting the policemen in performing for their official functions. Okay? Another is to have an effective coordination between the law and the enforcement and the public. The police community, the police relation office was established, and police community relations. It is defined as the sum total dealings of the police with the people it serves and whose goodwill and cooperation craves to ensure the greatest possible efficiency in public service. So that's the reason why when even in times of there is a presence of snake in a certain place, uh, uh, what agency in the government will be called for that matter? It is the police, no? Manawag tag police ug naay kit-an atong naay bisag naay hasa balay, naay halas sa balay di ang tawgon ang police kay mo'y padakpon, di ba? There are mga instances nga ing ana or naay mga uh, um, mostly kanang na mga basic raon ta nga mga problems, we always tend to call the police for help, right? So that is their way of extending their help to the community aside from their basic functions, their basic duties and functions as police officer. Okay, so there are other terms related to the community-oriented policing system. So again, the meaning of COPS is community-oriented policing system. Now, public relation, it is defined as the sum total dealings of the police with the people it serves and whose goodwill and cooperation craves to ensure the greatest possible efficiency in public service. So it means to say that if you wanted to become a police officer, you should have a good rapport with your neighbor or with the community. So you have a good relationship or public relation. Makigingon-ingon ka sa imuhang in the community or especially in your neighbor or in the people in the people surrounding you. And then police public relation, it is continuing process by which endeavors are made to obtain and the goodwill of these cooperation of the public for the effective enforcement of the accomplishment of police purpose. So, human relation consists of the fundamental concept, both moral and legal, which governs this relationship among them in all aspects of lives. And aside from the concept of police service, we have also what we call theories of police service. There are two theories: Continental Theory and the Home Rule Theory. So, Continental Theory is these are kanang explained as policemen are considered as the servant of the higher authority. Okay, so they are considered as the, take note of the word, considered as the servant of higher authority. Are our police officers practicing that kind of theory? Or home rule theory um, defines that policemen are considered as the servant of the community. Are our police officers servant of the community? If your answer is home rule theory, you are right. They are practicing the home rule theory, as the servant of the community. And also, there are also times that they are a servant of the higher authority. Okay? Especially if mostly of the politicians have already close-in security. And these close-in securities are police officers. Okay? So, as part of being a police officer, or in the in the law enforcement agency, particularly police, there is what we call police discretion. Now, police discretion is one of the most important powers vested by law to officers to exercise discretion. This is the way you think. And this is defined as an authority confirmed by law to act in uh, a certain condition or situation in accordance with an official or unofficial agency's own considered judgment and conscience. So we need to say police discretion is your own judgment based on your own judgment and conscience. So other authority define the same as the wise use of one's judgment, personal experience to decide a particular situation. So it is the freedom to make a choice among the possible courses of or possible course or courses of action or inaction. Now, one decision that is difficult for a police officer to make is whether to use force against civilian, a decision that must be made quickly, often under stressful and ambiguous circumstances. So if you are fond of listening to news, I hope you are. If you are reading newspapers, most of our police are they are being called abusive of their authority because they try to use force against civilian, even if a certain civilian is not the suspect or not the offender of a particular crime, or they use um, exer- they use more or um, violent force to the civilians or the offenders. Okay, so that is one of the decision that is difficult for a police officer, but especially on matters pertaining to between life and death, and between your duty and um, the between your duty and your family, for example. Okay, so it when you become a police officer, that is considered to be a decision that is difficult to take. Okay, and of course that must be made quickly and often under stressful and ambiguous circumstances. So aside from the criminal, the police discretion, one of the function of police officer is to investigate criminal. Now, criminal investigation is an art which deals with the identity and location of the offender and provides evidence of his guilt through criminal proceedings. And this is also considered as the most difficult and complicated function of the police as criminal investigator. You know? So it is also likewise defined as the criminal investigation is the collection and analysis of facts about persons, things, places, subjects of crime, and also subjects of crime and the identify the perpetrator, locate his whereabouts, and gather evidence for the establishment of his guilt in criminal proceedings. Now, the criminal investigator investigation further is known as an art or process which deals with the identity. So as I've mentioned ganyan, identity, location, and arrest of a person who commits a crime and simultaneously identify, collect, preserve, and evaluate evidence for the purpose of delivering criminal offender to justice. The elements of the investigative process are the following. So we have recognition, collection, preservation, and evaluation. In recognition, it tries to identify the identification of information related or has in any way bearing to the crime under investigation. Then, after recognizing, collection of information will be done after finding of to be related to a crime under investigation. Then once it is collected, all the information will be collected. It will be preservation of investigation gathered to ensure its physical and legal integrity. And another process is evaluation, which is ascertaining whether information identified, collected, and preserved can stand on prosecution and trial. So, this is the crucial part because we cannot go further to another pillar if there is no enough evidence to prove that that person is or that if there is no um, enough information uh, as well as evidences, then the next pillar will not be taken into like ano ra ka permi sa prosecution, you cannot go to prosecution because in the first place sa function sa law enforcement pillar wala man nimo kuha, wala ni mo ma-establish ang maong mga information or mga evidences nga imong na collect. Okay? So therefore, you cannot accuse someone who is not without any proof or any evidences to prove nga that person committed a crime. Okay? So the phases of criminal investigation are the following: the investigation of a criminal offender, the tracing, locating, and arrest of the offender, and gathering of evidence to prove his guilt in the criminal proceeding. So these are the phases of the criminal investigation. Custodial investigation, on the other hand, is the questioning this is the questioning initiated by the law enforcement officers. So it is the practice of issuing the issuing an invitation to a person who is investigated in connection with an offense he is suspected to have committed, without prejudice to the liability of inviting officer for any violation of law. So this means that after a person has been taken into custody or otherwise deprived of his freedom of action in any significant way. Now, what are the requisites to have a custodial investigation? Now, the questions, the requisite is the questions being asked are no longer general inquiry. Now, take note with the word general inquiry. It refers to a question that may be asked to any person. Like, for example, what is your name? How old are you? Are you still single? Where do you live? Something like that. Another is the questioning of in the custodial investigation is no longer general inquiry. Okay, and the person being questioned is considered already as a suspect in the crime committed. So that is the um the requisites of custodial investigation. There are three tools in the of the criminal investigation. We have information, interrogation, and instrumentation. Let's try to define each of them. Information is the knowledge which the investigator gathered and acquired from a source. Okay? So, information. Interrogation, on the other hand, is the questioning of a person suspected of having committed an offense or of a person who is reluctant to make a full disclosure of information in his passion which pertinent to the investigation. See the difference? Interview, on the other hand, is the questioning of a person who is believed to possess knowledge that is of official interest to the investigator. And instrumentation is the application of the instruments and methods of physical science to the detection of crime. Okay, so information, it is information where where the knowledge which the investigator gathered and acquired from the source of information. If I'm going to say that I live in blah 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 blah, that is an information because I am giving a full knowledge to that particular person, especially if I am being investigated. I would give a full knowledge, would give information to the investigator, so that is information. But once it is being once that the person do not give any information, then it could already be interrogation. Interrogation meaning the questioning. The suspected person is still being questioned of the investigator, but with uh, full disclosure of information. So the which is reluctant to make a full disclosure of information. Okay, so interrogation. If you would remember, if you have watched a lot of movies about crimes and etc., even I think this is also found in Provinciano, wherein um, one in a certain table, uh, there is a person who will be asking, and the other person, the other side of the table is the person who is being asked, and then there is a big lump, no, so that is a form of interrogation. Now interview, on the other hand, is um, the person is the questioning of a person who is believed to possess the knowledge. So you are trying to interview a certain witness, example. And instrumentation, on the other hand, is the In investigating a criminal or trying to get or to apprehend the perpetrator, instrument are being used. Instruments such as lie detector or the polygraph machine, wherein it tries to know if the person is lying or not. Although there are a lot of um, things or application of instruments for uh, for the detection of crime. If the person is lying or not, they may use this polygraph machine. Now, take note of the word interview and interrogation. Interview is described as the questioning of a person who is cooperating with the investigator. So that's interview. While in interview in the criminal investigation, while interrogation is used to describe the vigorous questioning of one who is reluctant to divulge information. So, munang there are instances that this interrogation, there is already a raising of voice. I know you are familiar with this because you like to watch Provinciano for sure. So interview versus interrogation. So that's it. Now, what are the rights of a person under custodial investigation? Okay, so these are known as Miranda rights or constitutional rights of a person. As I've mentioned a while ago, in conducting an arrest, this must be cited by a certain police officer. The Miranda rights or constitutional rights of a person, especially under the investigation for the commission of an offense. And the word Miranda came from the name Ernesto Miranda, who was the accused in the prominent case entitled Miranda versus Arizona. Okay, Miranda versus Arizona. So if you are confused with this, you may try to research on this Miranda versus Arizona. Okay, now what are the rights of a person under custodial investigation? The rights of the person is to be informed of his right to remain silent. Okay, so the right to have a competent and independent counsel, probably of his own choice, or if he could not provide, then Um, the government will give counsel or will provide one. Then rights against torture, force, violence, threat, and intimidation or any other means which vitiates his free will. And the last is right not to be held in secret, solitary, incommunicado, or any other forms of detection. So that is the rights of a person under custodial investigation. Now, in the process of custodial investigation, there is a word confession and admission during the process or during the process. Confession is the direct acknowledgement of guilt. Like for example, there was there was an accused or the accused was charged of homicide. During the trial, he acknowledged that he was the one who killed the victim. And on that particular move of particular acknowledgement, that is confession. Okay? On the other hand, admission. Admission is the indirect acknowledgement of guilt. Meaning to say, or for example, the accused was charged with homicide. Now, during the trial, he acknowledged that he owned the murder weapon. the knife, but he did not committed a crime, but did not acknowledge, no, did not acknowledge that he was the one who committed a crime. So the acknowledgement of ownership of this weapon was considered the indirect acknowledgement of guilt, because the owner of the weapon used in committing the crime, the owner of the weapon used in committing the crime is considered to be the perpetrator. Okay. Okay, do you see the difference between the confession and admission? I hope so. Now, there is also what we call judicial and extrajudicial confession. Judicial confession or admission is those done in open court and in the presence of judge. And this is not need to be proved. While the extrajudicial confession or admission are those made outside trial and must be proved. Okay? So now, as I've mentioned, aside from the PNP, there are a lot of more law enforcement agencies in the jurisdiction, and one of these is NBI. It is likewise to possess basic knowledge about this agency, of course, to avoid confusion between the two, between the Philippine National Police. Well, NBI was created on November 13, 1936, upon the approval of Commonwealth Act number 181. And this was the brainchild of the late President Manuel Quezon and Secretary Justice Jose Yulu. It was Thomas Dogan, a veteran American police captain from New York Department, and Flaviano C. Guerrero, the only Filipino member of the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation. They were tasked with organizing the DI, or the Division of Investigation Pattern, and then right after the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, on the basis of stiff physical, mental, and moral requirements. And around 45 men were selected as agents from among the 300 applicants. And this is still, I think this is still um, applicable up to now, because there are uh, less quota of becoming an NBA agent. I think mas daghan yun ang PNP compared to the NBI. So, to complement this investigative force, the applicants were civilian staff, which is the to complement the investigative force of the NBI. Civilian staff composed of doctors, chemists, fingerprint technicians, photographers, stenographer, and clerks were considered uh, to be one of the forces of or one of the agents of NBI. And during the Japanese occupation, the Division of Investigation was affiliated with the Bureau of Internal Revenue and the Philippine Constabulary, known as the Bureau of Investigation, or BI. So subsequently, during the post-liberation period, all available DI agents were recruited by these U.S. Army, CIC, as investigators. On January 19, 1947, Republic Act number 157 was passed, reorganizing this Bureau of Investigation. And then the law was amended by Executive Order number 94, issued on October 4, 1947. and from BI it was renamed into the National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI. Okay. So these are the objectives and mission of the NBI. The main objective of the National Bureau of Investigation is the establishment and maintenance of a modern, effective, and efficient investigative service and research agency for the purpose of implementing fully principal function provided under Act Number 157 as amended. Their mission is to provide quality services for efficient law enforcement in the pursuit of truth and justice. And their functions are the following. Under its enabling law, Republic Act 157, as amended, the NBI is empowered to investigate crimes and other offenses against the laws of the Philippines, both on its own initiative and as a public interest may require. Assist when officially requested in the investigation and detection of crimes and other offenses. And they are also act as the national clearinghouse of criminal records and other information for use of all prosecuting the law enforcement entities in the Philippines, of identification records, of identifying marks, characteristics, and ownership or possession of all firearms and test bullets fired therefrom. So, and give technical help to all prosecuting and law enforcement offices, agencies of the government, and courts which may ask its services. Also extends its services in the investigation of administrative or civil in nature in which the government is interested. And also establish, maintain, and up-to-date scientific laboratory and conduct researches in furtherance of scientific knowledge in criminal investigation. And coordinate with other national and local agencies in the maintenance of peace and order, and undertake the instruction and training of a representative number of city and municipal peace officers at the request of their respective superiors among effective methods of crime investigation and detection in order to ensure great efficiency in the discharge of their duties. And you can all read all those functions, the mission and visions of the NBI on their website www.nbi.gov.ph. Okay. Now take note that NBI is a government entity that is civilian in character and national in scope. Okay, and which is under the Department of Justice. Okay, now PNP is under the Department of Interior and Local Government, or DILG, while NBI is under the Department of Justice. Although they have similarities on its functions, even on some there are similarities in their functions, but they have um, different department. Okay, so the NBI is from under the Department of Justice, while the PNP is under the Department of Interior and Local Government. Okay. Now, these are the other law enforcement agencies or bureaus, offices, departments of the government. The National Bureau of Investigation, the Economic Investigation and Intelligence Division under the Department of Finance, Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources under the Department of Agriculture, the Bureau of Customs under the Department of Finance, Bureau of Immigration under the Department of Justice, the Bureau of Internal Revenue under the Department of Finance, Bureau of Forest Development under the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, the Land Transportation Office under the Department of Transportation and Communication, the National Telecoms Commission under the Department of Transportation and Communication, Bureau of Food and Drugs under the Department of Health, Bureau of Product Standards under the Department of Trade and Industry. And these are some also, Bureau of Customs, the Bureau of Fire Protection, and the Bureau of The Bureau of Fire Protection and the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology is part of the Department of Interior and Local Government. And then all the rest, you can all search for that on as to what under the department in the government, in the government, okay, or department agency, these what department of the government these agencies are. Okay, so if you have, there are a lot of agencies, and of course most of the agencies, they have different functions, but again, as I've mentioned a while ago, the PNP, or the Philippine National Police, is considered to be the primary law enforcement agency in the Philippines. Okay, so I would just like to give a short um, recap of these formula of crime, because police officers are known to be the person who will going to uh, catch the criminals, and criminals could not be called criminals unless they commit a crime. Now, the formula of crime is equal to desire plus opportunity, or what we call as to commit a crime, and resistance. Resistance is not to commit a crime. And if the combination of desire and opportunity is stronger than resistance, crime will be committed. Okay? And if the combination of desire and opportunity is weaker than resistance, crime will not be committed. So, in the prevention of crime, the law enforcement is strengthening the resistance and weakening the desire of a person in committing crime. In repression or suppression of crime, on the other hand, the law enforcement is reducing the opportunity of a person in committing a crime. So, like the act of conducting a patrolling or police visibility. And uh, and aside from that, um, w- maybe you would be wondering some of the explanations of in relation to the desire of a person to commit a crime or his resistance against criminality. So there are explanation based on the Holy Bible, and based on a certain theories, or a certain criminologist, or theories to be exact. So, according to the Holy Bible, devil, or Satan, of course, this is already obvious. When you committed a crime, you are one of Satan's ally. So, Satan is a spiritual being totally committed to keeping away from living for the glory and pleasure of God to himself or to others. And the devil or enemy has three weapons. In the Bible, one of the weapon is temptation. This is considered to be Satan's favorite method of attack. Okay, so temptation. Deception is another thing. So if temptation doesn't work, then Satan does not give up. So he will goes to the plan to he goes to plan B, which is deception. So mangilad, or ilaron, or mangilad. The way to keep free from deception is, of course, to stay in God's word and stay in the fellowship with God. And then another is, if that will not work, comes accusation. Okay, that's three weapons of Satan. Um, some also authors and instructors of criminology pointed out that poverty is the main root cause of crime, and it is all because people are, or men are very materialistic, because people wanted to have these kind of things, even if it dili afford, or there is no means to have that particular thing, or there can because of jealousy, because of being materialistic. Okay, so those are the explanation in relation to the desire of person to commit crime of his resistance against criminality. Okay, so these are the references that I have in my PowerPoint presentation. And okay, so that's it for this video. And we will see each other on the next meeting. We will discuss the 2.2 of the law enforcement pillar, particularly the arrest, the and search and seizure. Okay, so without further ado, class dismissed. Thank you very much and see you on our next meeting. Bye.